All right, welcome in today, guys. On your desk, you are going to have a worksheet that looks just like this. Does anybody know what we are doing today? Yes, we are talking about the scientific method, and we're going to do a little science experiment. So, the first thing I want you to do is you're going to put your name on your packet, and I'm going to explain the science experiment that we're going to be doing this week. Well, over the next 2 weeks. So we are going to take 3 pieces of bread, okay? We're going to have a constant, and then we're going to have 2 that we change, okay? And we're going to see the effects of hand washing. So before we do that, I want you to turn to your shoulder partner, and I want you to tell them exactly the steps of hand washing. Write them down, and we're going to see if we all think the same thing. All right, now that we have those written down, are we all in agreement that it is the exact same method for everybody? Who had the exact same thing as their partner? Okay, nobody. So that's showing us that everybody kind of thinks a little differently about hand washing. So we're going to try to get us all on the same page after our experiment. So now we've kind of talked about what an independent variable, a dependent variable is, and a control group. We've kind of talked about that, right? So we're going to kind of figure out what those are for our experiment, and then we're going to put them into practice. So we have your scientific packet, and the first page should say my predictions, okay? So we have 3 pieces of bread. The first one is the control. Can anybody tell me what that means if this is the control piece of bread? And I'm going to write it up here, and I want you to write it on the back of your prediction worksheet. So if it's the control, what's happening to it? Yes, nothing happens to the control group. Good job. So I will let you guys know that when you do this, this is my example, you're going to put your piece of bread in with a glove, okay? We're not touching it with clean hands. We're not touching it with dirty hands. We're going to put it in with a glove so nothing has touched it on our hands. Wonderful. What's the independent variable? Okay, so it's something that you change. So if I were to show you guys my other 2 bags of bread, I have one that says clean hands and one that says dirty hands. What am I changing between these 2 pieces of bread? There's a couple different things we can put. Okay, so I am changing, what I use to put the bread in the sack with, or the baggie. What's the other thing it could be? Okay, how I'm treating my hands. Now, the dependent variable is going to be a little different. What I want you to do is I want you to take your packet and you're going to flip through to the very last page. And it talks about mold. So if this is the very last page and at the bottom it says, draw some different ways you have seen mold grow on your piece of bread, what is our dependent variable going to be? Mold growth. Good job. Now, if we're changing how we put the bread in the bag, so if one piece of bread I have clean hands, like I washed them really well, I scrubbed them really well, the other one I have dirty hands, can I change what type of bag I put them in? No. Can I change where they're at in the classroom? No. It all has to stay the same because we can only have one thing we change, right? Otherwise, our experiment's not going to be correct. Okay? So, on your prediction worksheet, we're going to come up with one hypothesis for the clean hands and one for the dirty hands. All right? So for your clean hands, what we are changing. So if we're coming up with a hypothesis, for this one it's going to be if we wash our hands before we put our bread in the bag, or if we have clean hands to handle the bread, then what will happen? If our dependent variable is mold growth, what do we think is going to happen with the bag with the clean hands? Okay, I hear little to none. Wonderful. Maybe none at all. Okay. Perfect. So on your sheet, your prediction, and I want it to go just in this format, if we use clean hands for a bag of bread, or for the bread in the baggie, then there will be little to no mold growth. I'll do the next one. I'll write it up here with you guys. So for your next prediction, it's your dirty hands. Okay? So if, what would we say? If what? If we have dirty hands, ooh, there we go, touch the bread. And they don't have to be the exact same, it's fine. Then what? What will we see happen? What are we going to see with this mold growth? Okay, then there will be, what do we want to use? Okay, there will be a lot of mold growth. Now, if I was writing my prediction, and you will be graded on this packet, this will be part of your assessment. So if I'm writing my prediction and I say, if we have dirty hands touch the bread, then there will be a lot of it. Does that work? Am I stating what my dependent variable is? No. I want to make sure that you are stating your dependent variable correctly. Okay? So, this packet you need to keep, because on one side it's what your prediction was, and then you're going to observe and see if your prediction followed that. Okay? So I want you to flip the page. Next, we're moving on to germ mapping. Okay, it looks just like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to learn a little bit about germs before we can really start our experiment. Okay, so this is like our pre-research. So do you think a scientist will think of an experiment and then just do it and not research anything? No. What if somebody's already done this and they found that dirty hands caused no mold growth? Could we look at maybe what they might have done wrong or kind of alter their experiment a little? Absolutely. So we need to learn a little bit about germs before we start, okay? So on your germ mapping packet, there are 8 little bubbles, okay? You're going to fill in those 8 little bubbles with words or information you found out about germs. So it could be something as simple as, there are good and bad germs. That's the only one I'm giving you, though. You have to find the rest of them for yourself, okay? After that, hold on, yes, we're going to go through this whole packet before you guys get started. After that, you're going to have your write about it, okay? So this is your little writing prompt. We're working on doing writing in kind of all of our classes. So where can you find germs and how can you protect yourself from them? So you're going to take the information you found on your germs worksheet and you're going to kind of talk about where you find germs, how you protect yourself from them, all of that. And then on the last page, yes, this is going to be at the end of the experiment, but I want you to follow along with me as I read it. It says mold is a type of fungi. Molds can grow in different colors and shapes and in different environments. Mold likes to grow in damp environments. Sometimes mold can grow in places like bathrooms, but it also likes to grow on foods like bread and fruit. Mold may make you cough, sneeze, or get a rash. Usually you do not want to eat mold that grows on your food. However, some mold can be good. Different molds can be used to make food like cheeses and soy sauce. Scientists have even used mold to make antibiotics like penicillin to help you get better when you're sick. So, when we talk about mold, because we're talking about germs and mold and bread, but if we talk about mold, what do you usually see? So say you have a bag of bread and mom says it's moldy. What does it usually look like? Okay, it might be green. Yeah. It's not pleasant. You don't want to eat it, do you? No. Okay, so now that we know what our experiment is, you're going to be getting 3 pieces of bread, but remember, we have to handle them all different. You're going to be getting 3 pieces of bread, your instruction worksheet on how to do your scientific experiment, and you're going to follow it step by step. And then we're going to kind of check where we are at in about 2 weeks with our bread. And you're going to have to put them in the same place, use the same baggies, like the same brand, all of that stuff. So I'm going to start handing those out, and let's get started.